Talk a lot about how iPhones and social media introduced new beauty standards, aka iPhone face. Would you imagine that electricity had a similar effect on beauty standards? I recently read this 1933 essay called In Praise of Shadows, which talks about how Japanese society's aesthetics and appreciation of aesthetics changed with the introduction of electricity. And one of the most interesting observations that the author made was how electricity changed beauty standards in Japan. So, In the Praise of Shadows is an essay literally praising shadows and talking about how electric lights are sort of jarring against Japanese aesthetics. But what the author also does is he talks about how women's beauty was also seen when it was part of the shadows. Women used to blacken their teeth, they would dress in like heavy layered kimonos. Upper class women rarely left the home and stayed indoors for really long amounts of time. So a lot about the beauty of a woman was about them not being seen. So on the theater stage, for instance, they would, dress in heavy kimonos. Theaters were also dim lit, and then they would paint their faces white, and this would form like a contrast because the teeth are blackened and the face is white. So the face would be sort of seen floating around on stage. That was the beauty of the woman, to be in the shadows. And then now you have electric lights, and suddenly you can perceive this woman. And one of the things that was sort of impacted was the ideal of the Japanese woman's body type, right? Before in the shadows, people really couldn't make out the figures because you're in kimonos, it's dim, nobody's really making out your figure. It's more about how you're moving and your art. But now with lights, you can actually see that Japanese women are not as fuller, are not as curvy as perhaps Western women, and now you can make that comparison. Also, in the light, you can now see the textures on their face if the woman was older. Before, like I said, it was more about the art that was favored. But now with electric lights, you could see how old these women were, how much less figured they were, and it sort of changed the perception of what kind of women people expected to be on stage. Similarly, white faces, like white powdered faces, sort of became jarring in bright light. In bright light, you could see where the white powder starts and where it ends, and it sort of interrupts this beauty standard of Japanese women using powder to whiten their face. So for me, this is a very, very interesting observation on how a technology can also impact beauty standards, and also outside of the examples we're used to, like with iPhones and social media. But yes, I would recommend this essay for everyone.